Winona Split is when Run and Bun really starts to open up. Not only do you get access to Mega Evolution, but you also get access to Surf, allowing you to cross the water on Route 118 and pick up a bunch more encounters. First and foremost though, to get Surf you have to clear the beach house on Route 109, which thankfully isn't too difficult. Your level cap jumps to 65 after Flannery, so you're decently overleveled for these three. After getting the Surf HM, you get access to the largest group of encounters since the start of the game. Route 134, 105, and 108 open up, as well as New Mauville and the Abandoned Ship. Alternatively, the commonly delayed Petalburg City finally nets you your encounter if you did opt for the delay. Froakie and Poplio are the only two options here, and they're both fantastic encounters. Primarina is generally considered better, and is practically an Elite Four staple. Greninja has some pretty cool tech with Fling and Torrent though, and it's a great encounter in its own right. New Mauville has primarily a bunch of electric and steel type Pokemon. A lot of these guys are pretty solid, and it's another location to potentially pick up the coveted Togedemaru. However, I really think the static Hisui and Voltorb stands out here. There's a pretty noticeable pro and con for taking this encounter. Taking it now guarantees a catch with a Quick Ball, and it's a really impressive Pokemon for all of Winona Split. The downside to taking this guy is missing out on the static Hisuian Electrode and Aqua Hideout, but since that one isn't a guaranteed catch and it can explode, I usually opt to just take the one in New Mauville. Rather than going through all the possible Surf route encounters, it's more important to outline the most important encounters for this section. You generally really want to try and route your encounters to give yourself the best odds at Barraskewda. Swift Swim makes this guy an absolute monster in rain, and his base 136 speed makes him a demon outside of it as well. Bascu Legion and Alolan Muck are two more standouts for this split. You might have noticed that this is the first ghost type you get access to in the entire game, and because of that, it puts in a lot of work. Bascu Legion gets either Mold Breaker or Swift Swim, with the latter of the two being superior generally. Alolan Muck has a great typing, and it's the premier exploding mon for Mount Pyrotag if you decide to go with that strategy. That's for another video though. Oh, and make sure to stock up on Quick Balls for this catching simulator, since Overquill encounters on Route 134 can explode. Route 105 is an interesting one, since you can choose the Fish, Surf, or go for a Grass encounter on the island. I generally really like taking the Grass encounter here, since a lot of the mons on this route can be fantastic. Corviknight has an incredible defensive typing with so much utility in Defog, Feather Dance, and Roost. Hawlucha has the potential to be one of the best Pokemon in the entire game with Unburden and Encore. You can pre-status Hawlucha while holding the corresponding berry if it has Unburden to get guaranteed double speed. Combine that with Encore and a ground immunity and you have a serious asset to any box. Breloom and Audino aren't exactly what you want from this route, but they have some niche uses. I find that Breloom's typing is kind of fantastic for a lot of situations for whatever reason, and Audino has a niche on one of the hardest fights in the game later in Tainlaza Split. Beware is an absolute tank, soaking up physical hits like a beast. This guy is seriously amazing, and he's one of the better Pokemon for Mount Pyrotag, which is definitely one of the biggest run killers in the entire game. Ambipom is one of two Pokemon that gets Taunt, but I haven't used it or seen it get used much, so I don't exactly know what to say about it other than that. Seems like it could have some really cool uses with Taunt, Fake Out, Fling, and U-Turn. Finally, Alolan Exeggutor is really cool. There's a strategy on Magma Hideout Maxi where you pre-damage your Exeggutor to below 25% HP with a Custat Berry and Harvest to chain KOs on the Groudon, Tangrowth, and Garchomp before falling. It's actually so sick. I love seeing Harvest strats. Route 108 can get you one of the two desired fishes as well as Delmise, which can be a nightmare to catch. With a catch rate of 25, you really need to try and weaken it before catching it. Be careful though, since it can trap you in with Anchor Shot. Now that we've got through the encounter simulator, it's time for the long stretch between Route 118 and Weather Institute. It's definitely worth mentioning that at this point you get access to the Pidgeot type by surfing on Route 104 and the Agronite by surfing in Meteor Falls. You also have access to the Beedrillite on 105, Lopunite on 108, and Audinite in the Abandoned Ship. However, you have to fight these fights respectively for each one. Mega Beedrill and Mega Lopunny absolutely pop off for the entire game, so I'd highly recommend trying to get them as quickly as possible. Moving on to trainers, Route 118 and 119 don't have a ton of meaningful battles. The double battle against swimmers Rose and DeAndre might look daunting, but keep in mind that Discharge can still hit Gyarados despite Seeking's Lightning Rod ability. Alternatively, Mega Ampharos' Mold Breaker makes this fight a piece of cake. As for encounters, Route 118 is a bit of a mixed bag. Obviously, Mega Beedrill is one of the best encounters in the entire game, but Altaria really performs once you get access to its Mega Stone after Winona. Kangaskhan is a not-so-exciting normal type with access to Fake Out, and we've already covered Galvantula, Araquanid, Carnivine, and Absol in previous videos, which you should definitely go check out by the way, they are really good. Like I said before, there aren't a ton of fights on this stretch, but you're kind of hoping you have good water resists for, well, this abomination. I want to go over this double battle with Ninja Boy Takashi and Psychic Dayton, because I've personally seen a lot of people get messed up by this one. The best and most simple way I've found to deal with this fight is by leading something that can KO both Shiftry and Wailord, like Galvantula, Toxtricity, etc., while having something that is fast KO'd by Oranguru on the other side. Remember, the AI can go for Trick Room over a slow kill, so you need to make sure that your Oranguru sees a fast KO if possible. After taking out the Shiftry and Wailord, it's very simple from here. Now for the first boss section of this split, Weather Institute. Aqua Admin Shelly is guarded by 4 grunts, the first 2 of which have some pretty scary hack items. Remember your Magical Leaf and Aerial Ace TMs for the Bright Powder, Barbarical, and Breloom respectively. Pokemon like Flagon and Sirfetch'd that get access to First Impression are fantastic counters to the Quick Claw Malamar, since the priority of First Impression goes before Quick Claw. The Scolopede's pretty threatening with its King's Rock flinch chances, but Lucario's the perfect counter. Other Inner Focus Mons definitely do fine as well, but Lucario's the best counter I've found. Aqua Grunt 2 is the scariest grunt, however, with 2 Quick Claw Explosion Mons. Remember, the AI cannot click Explosion if the Mon with Explosion is the last Mon left, so having to deal with 2 of them can be a little problematic. The Drampa lead has a very scary gimmick with Focus Band, Roost, and Berserk in an attempt to max out its special attack. My personal favorite strategy for this thing is to pre-burn a Mon like a Lowland Muck that isn't in danger of dying to Drampa, knock off the Focus Band without being at risk of putting it into Berserk range due to the attack drop from the burn. Again, First Impression is fantastic for this Exeggutor, so if you have a way to bait this in while baiting Ferrothorn last, you should be golden. Magical Leaf and Aura Sphere do wonders against Bright Powder Amistar, and it's important to try and route your fight in a way where Walrein can't set up Curse. Now for Admin Shelly. The big piece of this puzzle is this Dragonite right here. Notice the choice band? It's really important to guarantee what move this Dragonite uses as best as possible, since switching into a random move choice banded Dragonite doesn't sound too appealing for most Mons. The best and most consistent route I found for this is as follows. Lead something that can handle the Mienshao like Hisui Electrode Volt Switch into something like Hatterene to bait a fast kill from Nihilego. If the AI sees a kill with Meteor Beam while holding a Power Herb, it will always click it over any other move, and Excadrill is the perfect switch here. From here, it's likely to set up Stealth Rocks, and you can get Rapid Spin to clear them and gain a speed boost. From here, most Excadrills can outspeed Shelly's entire team, forcing her to go into her Dragonite, that most likely sees a slow kill with Aqua Tail or Fire Punch. Hisui Electrode is great for this fight in particular, since you can Volt Switch the Mienshao to break Sash, and use it to pivot on the Tornadus with something like Dreadnought or Caracosta. Also, I don't know if I've mentioned enough how much I love Torterra, but he can very easily chain a KO on Lantern and Mega Blastoise in this fight if you're adamant, which is probably the best nature for Turtwig in my opinion. It's no secret that I'm a turtle runner, and obviously I know the Torterra bridge rival a lot more than the other two. Regardless, this is probably one of the hardest fights in the game for most runs. Permanent electric terrain and permanent rain with a team that utilizes it very well, it's just a nightmare. I have, however, been using a very consistent strategy for the Torterra team. The most important part of this fight is finding a safe way to KO the Ludicolo, Blaziken, and Salamence, which is not an easy task. Swift Swim Pokemon like Kingdra, Barraskewda, and Floatzel can do well at this, and it's the biggest reason that delaying Seadra for Ice Beam's worth it. I think it's better to show it off rather than explaining it. I love that Blaziken spray. Oh, I forgot. That fucking loudest thing ever. Alright. So Mence always sees a kill with Hydro Pump. And we Thunder Wave. This strat is so consistent every time, as long as you can find a way to kill the first 3. Goodbye. And then it should be Metagross, right? So this is always Thunder from the Lizard. Never clicking Weather Ball here under any circumstances. Perfect. Into Excadrill, ideally? It's fine. Here's the cool part about this strat, if you missed the explanation, but Excadrill is holding a Ground Gem. The reason we're holding a Ground Gem is we're not actually going to use it. We're holding it to make sure this Metagross clicks Bullet Punch on us. And then Heliolisk always sees a kill with Weather Ball. Torterra is always safe. So we just go into Gyarados, and then we Earthquake. Metagross is Clear Body, so we don't have to worry about Intimidate messing up any lines. And then Earthquake obviously doesn't hit. Perfect. Breaks the Sash, and it puts Metagross at half. Or if he crits, it puts him at whatever. Alright, and now Gyarados baits 2 electric moves. I think I can also Bullet Punch into my Excadrill, but like that doesn't really matter. I think it probably will. Yep. Now it's thunder. Cool. And now it's the exact same thing. God, this strat is so consistent. I love it. Penguin. All right, and now it sets up perfectly into Blastoise, who sees a kill on Gyarados with Terrain Pulse. A fast kill. This is literally a riskless strategy for Bridge Rival, dude, and it's worked multiple times. Holy Gabby, true. You're right. Perfect. GG. God, I love this line so much. No, you don't need Ampharos or Kingdra. You do need Excadrill. Well, no, I think you can do it with Crocodile. Basically, you need Torterra, Gyarados, and then Excadrill or Crocodile. And then you need some way to just clean up the first three. Which is, I think, pretty consistent at this point in the game. I can't say as much about the Empoleon or Infernape Bridge Rivals, but there are a lot of Pokemon that really shine here. Hisui Electrode, Kingdra, Floatzel, Barraskewda, Basculegion, Alolan Raichu, Gyarados, and Togedemaru to name a few. There are only 2 fights between here and Fortree City that really aren't too challenging. Just remember that these two also have permanent rain and permanent electric terrain. Ah yes, Fortree City with your fantastic music. You finally get access to Frostlass and Porygon Z if you were unfortunate enough to have a Snorunt and a Porygon as 2 of your encounters. Fortree is also home to the Galar Weezing trade. Just like the Hisui Growlithe, you can get access to Lizzie if you trade your Cantonian Weezing away, and it's honestly a really solid encounter. There are 2 trainers on Route 120 before you can get access to your encounter, and there are a lot of options here between the grass and water. Honestly, the grass has so many incredible encounters. Hawlucha, Gliscor, Sneasler, Noivern, and Volcarona to name a few. The only real miss on this route is like Sarina. The water, however, can get you what is in my opinion the single best Pokemon in the entire game, Golisopod. The main reason this thing is so broken, on top of its really solid stats of course, is its ability Emergency Exit. If you don't know, Emergency Exit automatically switches Golisopod out upon reaching 50% HP. That's a free eject button essentially, and what makes it even more insane is that it activates even if you're holding a Citrus Berry to put yourself back above 50% HP. This means that in any given fight, you can have 2 eject buttons to bring a Pokemon in for free. That's like a lot of eject buttons. Regardless of how good the Route 120 grass encounters are, it's hard for me to justify passing this up. That's very common between Route 120 and Scorched Slab. Winona's gym trainers are mostly pretty easy in my opinion, aside from Expert Kevin and Birdkeeper Jared. The Masquerine lead is surprisingly annoying to KO with Intimidate plus Focus Sash, and since the AI is able to use Sticky Web over a fast KO sometimes, it can be kind of inconsistent. Volt Switch and U-turn mons like Beedrill, Galvantula, and Hisui Electrode are great for this fight, and they can help you keep tempo after KOing Masquerine, Gyarados, and Rotom. It's also important to have Porygon 2 come in on something where it doesn't get the special attack boost from download if possible. Birdkeeper Jared's also pretty tough. I've noticed that any fight with a Porygon 2 or a Blaziken is just really difficult for some reason. There are 3 things that stand out about this fight in my opinion. Finding a way to safely deal with Archeops while clearing the Stealth Rocks. Excadrill, Donphan, and Claydol can do this pretty well. Baiting in Corviknight without giving it the chance to set up Bulk Ups. It can get out of hand pretty quickly with its set. And finally, not giving the Blaziken an opportunity to set up Swords Dance. Without Mega Beedrill, Winona is really tough from my experience. It's pretty easy to lock the Staraptor into whatever move you want and route the fight from there though. Pokemon like Slowbro can sit on it with Slack Off if you bait close combat, and that usually perfectly sets up for Volcarona Bug Buzz. Hisui Arcanine is usually the perfect answer for Volcarona, but anything that can safely break its Sash and KO should do just fine. My personal favorite strategy for this Hawlucha is to pivot something on an Acrobatics to get rid of its Flying Gem, then into Slowbro holding a Sticky Barb on a close combat to cut its damage in half. From here, you can Slack Off to stay healthy and eventually KO with Future Sight. A decent amount of fire types can handle Celesteela. I've personally used Hisui Arcanine and Blaziken for example. But as you guessed, Slowbro can also sit on this thing with Slack Off and Seismic Toss. Winona's Shaman Sky might be her biggest threat. The most consistent answer is probably Mega Beedrill or Gyarados with Ice Fang after switching on an Earth Power, but I've used Eldegoss to drop its speed and Salazzle with Encore as well. Good Mamoswines can OHKO with Ice Shards sometimes, it's pretty crazy. Finally, her ace, Mega Altaria. Mega Beedrill and Salazzle are 2 of the best answers I've found for this thing, and it can be a real pain to deal with. Its coverage is insane, and it does huge damage with Pixelate. Overall, this fight is pretty easy with Beedrill, but without it, it can be a real pain. It's always Brave Bird. This is gonna be Fiery Dance from Volcarona. Ideally, this doesn't boost. But if it does, it's okay. What's up, Shinji? It's 50-50 to boost, I think. Oh, didn't. Nice. That's actually really good. Okay. Rock Slide and the E-Speed. This is going to be Hawlucha. It can never Acrobatics, which is the very important part. It can Stone Edge. Okay, this can never Acrobatics. If it does, we wipe. We go Corviknight, which takes CC and Stone Edge, and always baits CC. I think it's the only thing in my box that does that. Perfect. That's fine. This is always close combat. It can't Stone Edge because... Or, sorry, it can't Swords Dance because I see a kill. So we go Beedrill. Perfect. Good, no crit. Goodbye, Hawlucha. This baits Celesteela. Ew. Sorry, it's just ugly as fuck. Okay, this is random move. It isn't Earthquake, I don't think. We just go into Torterra. Ideally, it doesn't Flamethrower. It doesn't really matter that much. Cool. Okay, this is always Flamethrower. Alright, this procs my Citrus. This is going to bait Earthquake. Thank you for the follow. Perfect. This is always clicking Flamethrower now. What's up, Slander? Okay, this is either Seed Flare or Earth Power from Shaman. Perfect. Crit doesn't matter. Goodbye, Shaman. Alright, GG. Ow, my ears. Fuck. If you like this video, be sure to like, drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel. I plan on breaking down all of Taint Liza's split into several parts, since it's a long one. Thanks for watching, everyone. Till next time.